the 3 reasons why being a Christian that is a follower of the truth, seeing through deception, is the most extraordinary thing I will ever do. I just finished reading the Bible in 365 days. Before that, I was doing daily tarot readings just to find out what was in my future so that I could have some sense of control over my own life. I wanted to be able to predict it, but I wasn't actually doing anything to change it for the better, to improve it with my habits and my focus. That is when I started reading the Bible every single day, and it genuinely changed my character because from the inside out now, rather than from the outside in, I was looking to who I needed to be, to what has formed me, to how this environment hasn't always been the one that every human has had. The fact that I actually now understand that Christ died for me when he was innocent. In the Old Testament, it shows that my ancestors had to do certain things like sacrifice animals, pray many times a day. That was the atonement of sins. But now, he atoned for my sins. It is finished. That is true peace. Who does that? Who would die for you? That is very rare to have that kind of love, and that is unconditional love. And that's what I've got to know over the past year of reading the Bible every single day. I've now given myself the challenge to write the Bible out because Healthyish Audrey does this on Instagram as well. I think that's a good way to sort of mull over the writing better than to read something quickly. Both have pros and cons, and I totally recommend that you check out this plan that I read. I needed to get the context of who God was. What is your heart, God? Who are you? What are you made of? Why do people talk about you in this reverent way? I think that you're an all loving God, and like that's nice and all. I actually found respect for God when I learned of Christ and how he flipped tables in the temple because he did not want his father's house to be made a marketplace. I thought, okay, he knows when to put his foot down, he knows where to draw the line, he knows what standards he's going to uphold and what he will not allow. That's a God that I'm willing to submit to. And this is the first of the 3 reasons why being a Christian, and that means a follower of the truth, is the most extraordinary thing I'm ever going to do. Discerning who and what serves God versus who and what serves the enemy and Satan. There is such a thing as good and evil. I found this out just in my own knowledge and experience in life. There are certain habits that I can focus on that elevate my energy and certain habits that drain my energy. What gives me vitality and what completely drains that, what feels alive inside of me, is what I have to pursue. Ultimately, we won't be sacrificing anything when our will aligns with God's will. And God's will for us is, of course, the best thing for us because He's omnipresent, He's omnipotent, and He wrote our story before we were even born. So why wouldn't I rely on him? My will, on the other hand, that's limited. I don't have a capacity to see or foresee what could happen, whereas he has angels everywhere, which in the Bible, by the way, are described as eyes with wheels and wings. Like they literally have eyes everywhere looking after the people of God. Malachi 3:17, it says, "Then shall ye return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth him not." This discernment is so imperative, and it's the first step that it took for me to submit myself to God. Believe it or not, you're always serving something. You're always serving one or the other. To make my will the same as God's will for me is my ultimate life goal. I won't lose as much as I could. If I decide to put my time, focus, energy, and love into something that is ultimately deceit and evil and change, I'm going to lose. Whereas God, who is truth and unconditional love and it always stands, right? That is not something I'm going to lose. If I love God, who is the creator, no matter what he creates, I can rely on him always being there rather than thinking that what he has given me is permanent because we always move home, lose friends, lose family. But if I trust him as the core and the rock who I can always return to, he's unchanging. And if I can befriend him and his will for me, there's no way that I'm going to lose the rest of the things that he will create because I know that his blessing and his future creation in my life is going to be better still. Apparent goodness is evil, and it wears this mask appearing as good for you to think that it is, but it's actually at its core not true goodness. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. That is Isaiah 5:20. When we put our trust into changing things, things that we can lose, the charm of a man when he doesn't at his heart have the best intentions for you as a woman, you will lose something. Why don't you pray to the Father and ask God, is this your will for my life? And wait. Time will always tell whether something is true or not. God is always there in the morning. God is always there the next day. If the man comes from God, he will still be there months from now. Now, if someone says they're Christian but they act without virtue, what they're feeding is pride. That is the capital sin. Humility, on the other hand, is the first of the 7 heavenly virtues. You can check that video out right here. Proverbs 16:18 says, "Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall." The more I've come into Christianity, the more I have held my tongue, not said the last word, and just kept things more to myself in terms of social interaction and knowing when to speak and when not to, keeping some things in my heart as Mary's, and learning really that to be a woman of virtue means not trying to change and shift and fight against people because they will ultimately do what they want to do. On the other hand, it is very important, like Christ flipped tables, to state where the banks of the river lie so that the water can flow where it's meant to. When we're a part of this worldly culture, we want to bring the word in somehow. So on my Instagram and my YouTube, this is why I try and show you what I believe are the pillars of this life to walk on the straight and narrow. Because without this guidance, I know I definitely missed it. I spent 27 years without having a community who had my best interests at heart, who led me the right way, and I only would have hoped to have an older sister who would look out for me the way that I feel that I'm looking out for you when you subscribe to the channel. The second reason why being a Christian is the most extraordinary thing I will ever do is because I ultimately have to agree that I have an evil heart. I tame my own evil heart. This is a consistent life purpose, is to say, I know that desires that I have will land in this space of future loss. I know that what I wish for is not always going to be God's will for me. That's why I so consistently pray for my will to be merged to God's will. The greatest evil lies in our own hearts. Jeremiah 18:12 says, "And they said, there is no hope, but we will walk after our own devices, and we will every one do the imagination of his evil heart." I actually used to believe that I was incapable of creating hurt, and I think when we're young, we are more drawn toward disobedience because we don't appreciate or have gratitude for hierarchy. We don't understand that our elders, our parents, have a capacity of knowledge and wisdom that has come from experience and failing and losing. When we appreciate this, especially with reading the Bible, we can see that we don't want to fail by the same way they did. We want to learn from their mistakes and their lifetime of experience. The point of our life is to look back and say, I'm really pleased that I did this. I was building my legacy. But to have nothing to show for all the years that we've lived, that's really scary. And you want to look back and be proud of what you've done, in that you've been building God's legacy and his kingdom on this earth. So the only way to do that is by being obedient to God and being obedient to the people above you, such as your parents, your teachers, whoever that may be in your hierarchy. The discipline of the heart is in the mind. That is the buffer for your behavior. And here is what the minds of the bravest people out there sound like. What will I do with this evil nonsense? Nothing at all. When your heart utters, hey, hurt this person, hey, say that last word, hey, don't do that thing that you don't feel like doing, and you actually agree with it by taking action on that voice in your head that's telling you to disobey, you are evil, believe it or not. When you have control over that evil, that is called the virtue of temperance. You are capable of having self-control. I can see my feelings and I take ownership of them. They don't control me, in that they live in me and I will choose what to do with them. This is why, with the virtue of diligence, We decide to do the things we don't feel like doing because we are consistent in doing them. I definitely didn't want to sit down to film this video. It's been a couple of weeks now that I haven't filmed, and the last week I spent editing my final video called Baking Boundaries. It was pretty funny actually. And I just haven't felt like filming. But you know what? I set out almost a year ago to post weekly videos, and I'm here. What matters more to me now is that my character will be molded to how God sees me. I think that's a perfect segue to the fear of God. The quote, fear of the Lord, was something that kept me away from Christianity for a very long time. I was like, why would I want to be afraid? My life is about freedom, right? But actually, motivation is at the core something that we're afraid of. The reason I work out is so I don't get fat. The reason I do my homework is so I can be smart. The reason I post videos weekly is so I'm not inconsistent. And so there's always a fear that drives the motivation. So when we say fear of God or fear of the Lord, we're not talking about being consistently afraid of something and every day being scared. We're talking about not being afraid of people. When you're afraid of people, you care a lot more about external validation. You care about people pleasing. You care about all these things that are so nitpicky. And that is where this sense of control, like me wanting to watch tarot videos every single day, comes in because you care too much about the little things. When you can rest, especially as a feminine woman, when you can surrender into God's going to take care of it. I don't care how people perceive me. I don't care if they think it's nice or not. I know what I'm doing is the right thing because God told me. There's so much safety in that. Did you know that I used to be a mouse? I barely ever spoke. I was so shy, I would go pink anytime anybody asked me a question. Boy, girl, teacher, mom, doesn't matter. I did not want to talk. And the fact that I can now is because I know God is with me. I know that I'm not just telling you my opinion, I am telling you what has taken me years of seeing through deception. This is worth it. Having this confidence that is calm and grounded, and it doesn't matter what comments I receive, I'm still going to be posting. I still know who I am, and I'm not going to lose that. That is why I fear the Lord. You aren't special if you're controlled by your temper. You're a coward. You have to be able to say, this is the beast and I'm going to tame it. Not, I'm pure love and light and you should listen to me and I'm Tinkerbell and I dress up as a little mermaid and therefore that's what I am. We all have the capacity to be a monster. Doesn't matter what we look like. The more self control you have, the more attractive you are. And the only way to walk along the straight and narrow is to have this virtue, to be diligent in doing what you don't feel like doing, to have temperance and self control over your emotions. When we reject parts of ourselves because they don't match the idea of who we are, oh, definitely not. I'm a kind person. I'm really good because you're people pleasing all the time. You don't even recognize the shame that lives in you because you're rejecting the part of you that is actually hurting others by making certain comments or not showing up and participating where life is calling you to. Shame thrives in the shadows. That is where you're allowing evil to grow, is by not looking at it and acknowledging it and saying, look, you may not be a part of me that I want to accept, but I'm willing to perhaps accept you. I am open to the idea that you exist. That's where you need to begin. What you want to cultivate by noticing this evil in your heart is the heart posture that you have and the intention. Humility is so wonderful. It's really an honest self view of what you're capable of. You are capable of seeing both your strengths and your weaknesses. To admit, God, I can't do this alone. Please help me. To ask for help. And that specifically is where God comes in to meet you where you are, to reach out a hand and say, daughter, I have this for you. Daughter, I was waiting this whole time for you to ask me to come. Finally, 2 Corinthians 12:8-10 says this, God said to me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. And the third and last reason why being a Christian is the most extraordinary thing I'm ever going to do in my life is because what emanates naturally out of purity, out of creating and carving this strong and capable heart, is service and care and encouragement for others. Charity is what makes the world go round. Care and service is what makes the world go round. It's not love alone. That is too great a word. Charity is the greatest there is. Let's find the Bible verse. 1 Corinthians 13 reads, "Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal." My mom actually used to say this to me when I thought everybody else knew something I didn't because they were very loud. She said, "The empty kettles make the loudest noise." "And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not, charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil." That's what we're talking about. "Rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth." I think here about gossip and all the things that we revel in this world. "Charity beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away." You see this sense of what is going to be lost versus God, who is always there. "For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away." When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. To me, this really means I stopped acting disobediently because Christ is my Lord and Savior. "For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known." Now I am looking for how God sees me and to act in the way he sees me, not only the way that I want to be seen. "And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three, but the greatest of these is charity." And as I speak, I realize that of the three reasons that I just outlined, there is faith, hope, and charity. First, we had discerning what serves God and what serves the enemy. That is the faith in the service of God. Then we had taming my own evil heart, and that is hope. Hope in living in purity. And then we've got service, care, and encouraging others, and that is charity. So truly, the reason for a community when we are of service to others is to create goodness, is to build that legacy. And that's the purpose that you're here for. If you've been searching for one, this is it. Read your word and you will know what I'm speaking of. Also, when we have community who cares for us deeply of all ages. Now that I go to church, this is what I really enjoy about it is there are men who are husbands, there are grandfathers, there are children, there are married couples, young and old, with children and not, and all of them know who I am, Julia. They know to look out for me. They know to recommend certain things to me. They know to speak to me not in a way that they expect something from me, which without community, the world does. And so, in the word and in the community with church, I really felt like all around me, I have people who look out for my best interest. Therefore, they can look out and tell me my blind spots, especially the most intimate friends. They can tell me, "Hey, Julia, have you thought about this? Have you seen this in this person? Have you looked out for that with this opportunity?" And they can say, "I don't think you're going down the straight and narrow or down the path of truth and God and that which will never fade when you're choosing this thing. I think you might lose this if you pick it." And that is the beauty in the purpose that Christ gave us, which, as it says in Galatians 5:14, "For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." So, having a virtuous life, as this channel, the heart of the matter, is all about becoming that woman who has virtue and has vitality. It doesn't look extraordinary. It simply means that you revel in the ordinary moments. You have this nuance of self and this emotional intelligence because your heart is so capable, due to its purity, to be present in every moment that God has gifted you. For you to be grateful in the fact that you get to do the dishes, you get to eat, you get to do your laundry, you get to wear nice clothes. You simply do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not, consistently and obediently doing ordinary life. That's the truth. If you've found that your journey of Christianity has been similar or different, please comment below why you think being a Christian is the most extraordinary thing you will ever do. Hey, I'm Julia. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with a friend, comment, like, all the things to help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this video, you can also watch this one next. Until next week, as my grandma always said, harden not your heart, love and serve each other.